Well, the heat is on credit rating agencies again as a former Moody's executive testifies on the Hill about the company's lack of surveillance. Republican Congressman Darrell Issa of California on the panel that heard the testimony this morning. He joins us now. First, your reaction on the testimony you heard this morning over Moody's.
Well, I think the testimony shed light on how the firewalls that were supposed to protect essentially rating people based on what they paid were systematically broken down. But as you know, Moody's is just one of three organizations who all had AIG as a AAA rating up to and including the day the defaults began occurring. As we go through this investigation, it's clear we have to go beyond just one rating agency and their failure and get into the failures of government that we believe are at the heart of a $6 trillion loss to the American people.
What's your progress on looking for those taped telephone conversations, Congressman?
Well, today I challenged the chairman that if he wouldn't issue the subpoena himself, that he would allow for a vote. We have the votes, including Democrats, to issue that subpoena. We just need the chairman to step aside and allow that, and the speaker to allow the chairman to step aside. But until Speaker Pelosi steps up to the plate and realizes you don't drain the swamp by allowing the water to stay in it, in fact, we're not going to have the investigation we deserve. Certainly, Countrywide now has become much more the center of how government officials were so lax in their enforcement at all levels.
Well, you know what, Congressman, I have to say your critics would say right now to you, the only reason that you're trying to get the tapes story out there, the Bank of America Countrywide tapes, is because that potentially Senator Christopher Dodd of Connecticut and Kent Conrad were potentially two of these VIPs that got special treatment from Countrywide. You know, they would say Congressman Issa is just going after Dodd and Conrad. What do you say to that?
Well, I think Dodd and Conrad are already known. They're not what we're interested in. What we're interested in is how many people we don't know about, including a lot of people who are probably behind the scenes. They're not the first names you see in government, that made these commitments to receive tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in benefits and then went on to be lax in public policy and enforcement. And as you can tell, we're going full speed forward with new laws when, in fact, it may have been bribes that affected the existing laws from being enforced for the benefit of the American people.
Congressman Issa, it's Greg Jarrett. You know, the SEC, as you probably know, has been sued by people for negligence. Should those lawsuits go forward for civil liability under the Federal Tort Claims Act, and should people who lost money because of the failures of the SEC ought to receive money, compensation?
Well, you know, the piggy bank that those lawyers want to take from is our tax dollars. We've already bailed out nearly $1 trillion. Who knows how much of that will actually ever get back? So one of the questions I would ask to the plaintiff's lawyers is it that you want justice, or is it that you simply want money from the taxpayers?
They want both.
In my case, they consider justice to be money into their bank accounts, and I appreciate that. But my job is to protect the American people more broadly, and I'm most concerned about finding out who, what, and where happened that allowed for this, and making sure it doesn't happen again. And that's what I'm being thwarted by Speaker Pelosi and Chairman Towns. They're not allowing us to investigate why Freddie and Fannie changed their policy to take in countless trillions of dollars worth of taxpayer-backed loans that were, in fact, junk at best.
What kind of dialogue do you have then with Congressman Towns right now? I'm sure it's not a very positive one at the moment, but obviously you've made this request to him. What is his response?
Well, Chairman Towns and I work together on a lot of issues positively. In this case, there's been a moving, shifting target. Now, the latest one today in committee was the Chairman Towns said it was because there was a justice investigation. Well, I'm here to tell you that we've been told that justice has not subpoenaed those very documents month after month. And, of course, we're holding a hearing on Moody's when the SEC has an investigation. Our committee has not historically stood by looking into corruption in government simply because somebody is looking at it more broadly. We've always taken the lead. We should continue to take the lead. It's very clear that before we pass laws, we need to find out why the existing laws, regulations, and oversight didn't occur. And I believe it had a great deal to do with Friends of Angelo and the 28,000 special loans they made, a huge amount of them to people in government, people who could affect decision making. And I'm not worried about the senators we know about nearly as much as the many we don't know about.
But Congressman, the FHA is already, they're leveraged 50 to 1. The White House is talking about $35 billion program to go out there and provide funding to the housing finance agencies in the states that are offering no down loans, helping with the down payment loans. Isn't the government doing exactly what caused the problem in the first place?
There's no question that the government right now is going over and taking chips out of the iceberg that sunk us and putting them into the lifeboats so people can have cold drinks. We very clearly have not learned the lesson that real money, real skin has to be there by people who buy homes if you expect them to stay with it through tough times. This administration is more concerned about poor people staying in homes they shouldn't have bought to begin with than, in fact, fixing the problem, right-siding our economy. And unfortunately, the effects of the stimulus have made this administration think the country's healthy when, in fact, jobs are still leaving not just my state, but the United States. And that's something we have to reverse, and we're not going to reverse it by simply taking government money and writing checks against an empty bank account.
Congressman, I can't let you leave here without asking you about the health care status and the vote that's happening right now. You know, a new Rasmussen poll came out today. 83% of Americans want you, Congress, to put all bills online so that they can look at them, the public can look at them before you vote. What do you say to that?
The American people deserve 72 hours to look at and contact their members of the House and Senate before any vote. That's something that I will tell you, if we're ever given the majority again, will be the first new rule passed, unconditional. No bill, except perhaps a declaration of war after we've been attacked, should ever be considered in less than 72 hours. The fact is it takes weeks or months to write these bills in secrecy, and then they're dropped only hours before the vote. That's wrong. The American people know it's wrong. And I'm surprised it's only in the 80s and not in the 90s now that the American people on both sides realize they have everything to lose by bills being dropped at the last minute.
Yeah.
Congressman Darrell Issa from California. Congressman, it's always great to have you on Fox Business. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.